There's some people that join the industry and they just kind of dabble, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of work. They just kind of buy leads. Yeah. They just kind of make calls. They just kind of make sales. They just kind of make money, and then they end up at 92% and they fail. This dude commits. He goes all in. He will do whatever it takes to win and help people. And he's extremely committed to the success of this industry. Welcome back to the CA Rising Stars podcast. Love this thing. I've been reading my book with you every single week for the 2 previous weeks. This week, we got a special guest in office, in the house. This dude, honestly, he's a rising star and a power player, truthfully. Okay, the dude's all of the above. But we're going to air it on the Rising Star podcast so we can get it out quicker and so we can share it with you because he's still only been in the business for like less than a year and a half, which is unbelievable. Okay, so I'm excited for today's interview. Then we'll pick back up with a book and chapter 3 of the 0 to 6 figures audio in the next Rising Star podcast. But I can guarantee you, you want to stick around. You don't want to miss a second of this because I'm going to give you some like details. Okay, he wrote like 114,000 in APV the last 3 months. Mm-hmm. What'd you do in your first 12 months?
My first 12 months, I did 191,000.
Come on now, right? Like, would you categorize that as a rising star? Freaking come on, right? If that ain't a rising star in the insurance industry, I don't know what is. And he's helping a lot of agents and agency owners around the country now as well, which is really cool. Please welcome to the Rising Star podcast in office, in studio, all the way from Pensacola, Florida. Now sitting here in Springfield, Missouri, Mr. Ashton DeLangoLunday.
Yes, sir. Dude, great to be here. Absolutely stoked to be able to finally meet you in person.
Yeah, man.
We've been chatting on the phone for a while now and really get to learn a lot from you.
Yeah,
I definitely enjoy a lot of the content.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that a lot. And you got a lot of cool people you're learning from and mentors and stuff.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you saying that. We're also going to be jumping on a private jet together to go to the Cincinnati Road Show.
Dude, I'm excited.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah. And then we're going to Cincy. We'll have the private VIP and speakers event and all that. Ashton's going to be speaking there. And then Friday, we'll have the 8% Road Show all day. Bunch of incredible speakers, bunch of motivation, nuggets, etc. Then we'll go to the speaker dinner on Friday night, and then we'll jump back on a private jet and fly back to Springfield, Missouri. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I'm super excited about. So I appreciate you joining that.
Absolutely.
Excited to have you a part of that thing. It's going to be incredible. Here's one of the reasons I wanted to have him on this Rising Star podcast, by the way, for those that are just joining us, listening, is there's some people that join the industry and they just kind of dabble, right? Mm-hmm. They just kind of work. They just kind of buy leads. Yeah. They just kind of make calls. They just kind of make sales. They just kind of make money, and then they end up at 92% and they fail. This dude commits. He goes all in. He will do whatever it takes to win and help people. And he's extremely committed to the success of this industry. I don't know. Is it the ex-athlete in you? Where does that come from? Because there was no doubt in your mind that you were going to make this a success. A lot of people doubt stuff. Yeah. Was there a doubt for you?
There was never a doubt. There wasn't a single time where I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I looked at the industry, not just the company I was in, but I looked at the industry and said, well, the story's the same from every person. I don't care who you talk to, what they sell, what they do. If you work, if you put in the work, if you work hard, you do the self-development, you constantly improve yourself and find those ways of how can I learn more to be better, to serve others. If you do those things, you'll be successful. Mm-hmm. And there is never a doubt in my mind that, hey, am I going to do what it takes in order to make sure that my family's taken care of? Without a doubt. And I see it work for others, so why isn't it going to work for me?
Yeah, totally. You have a natural confidence about you and your abilities. Not an arrogance, just a natural confidence. Where does that come from? Has it always been there? Is it because you were an athlete? Is it the way you were raised?
I think it was the way I grew up. I mean, growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends. So for me, I just had to have that confidence in myself that I knew what I was doing and why I was doing it. Yeah. And so it didn't matter what someone else thought. Whether it was about how I dressed, what I did, nothing.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I always had to believe in myself before anyone else believed in me. I didn't have that coach, that mentor, whatever you want to say, that was ever pushed me towards something that was better. It was always the opposite, that you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to make it. You're not going to do it. Just give up. Same thing, when I was an athlete, I was told I'd never get a scholarship, and got a 1D offer, a lot of D2, a lot of D3, and believed in myself, and put in the hard work and just saw that reward. So I knew if I put my mind to anything, then it's going to get done. And so much more so when you actually have that mentorship. Yeah. And that's the number one difference I've seen coming into this industry, is having someone that cares and wants to see you succeed just accelerates that growth beyond measure.
True.
Which is a lot of what you do. I mean, you come alongside so many agents and agencies and help them grow by providing as much as you can for them. Yeah. In content like this.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. You mentioned a couple of things I wanted to jump to. One, your story. But first, before I jump there, you mentioned that you don't tend to struggle with worrying about what everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
And I want to jump to that really quick because it's a really important point, because most insurance agents, they naturally, and you guys listening, okay, let me know in comments if I'm lying, by the way. Okay, call me out or be like, dude, you're right. I'm with you. A lot of agents, a lot of you watching, by the way, or listening, care about what everybody else thinks, and it holds you back from really diving in and going at this thing full force, man.
Absolutely.
That's a limiting belief that a lot of people place on themselves. Why don't you care like most people do?
Man, that's hard.
And how have you dove in to overcome some of that? And has that benefited a lot of your early success in the industry, so to speak?
I think it has a lot to do with my early success. I think a good part before getting the identity is that's worked much to not my benefit and my benefit, being stubborn, being hard-headed, thinking, hey, I know better. When I got into this industry, every single person said, don't get an insurance license. Insurance salesmen are, they just scam people. They take all your money and don't do what's right. And I was like, man, that can't be the case. And I did some research, not much. So that helped. But in terms of identity for me, my background is ministry. And so for me, when I look at identity, I go, what am I basing my identity in? Is my identity tied to what Cody Askins thinks of me? Is it tied to what my wife thinks of me, my friends, my family? Or is my identity tied in something else? And for me, my identity is tied to Christ. That's my identity.
Correct.
That's who I am, who I am to Christ. I'm made in his image. I'm perfect. All those things, not perfect, but made in his perfect image. And that's where I find my identity. So if I find that identity inside of myself, maybe if I'm not a believer, but if I find that identity inside of myself and that self-worth from me, from scripture, from Christ, then as long as I do everything I'm doing unto the Lord, then I'm not going to have to worry about what someone else thinks. I'm not going to have to worry about their opinion or what am I doing. As long as at the end of the day, I go, man, am I doing this for the right reasons? If I'm doing this for the right reasons and my identity is in something that is solid and not going to shake and crumble,
correct,
then everything else is going to fall into place. And that's whether you believe in the Bible, believe in Christ or not. If that identity is something that can be shaken or changed, then you'll always be looking to find self-worth in something other than yourself. That's always going to fail.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. I love that you're sharing that too. A lot of our stuff that we do is faith-based, even though we don't always say it is, but it's just how you live and what you do, and you definitely do that. Before I jump to your story, what is, in your opinion, after, what's it been, 15, 16 months now?
Yeah, November was 1 year.
Okay.
November 2021.
Which is awesome. Yeah. And you started in 2020.
Yeah, started.
Talk about that first before
time.
I even get to my next point. Talk about that, like starting during COVID, supposedly.
Yeah, it was definitely a big difference. I mean, living in the state that I lived in, I always tell people, obviously COVID doesn't exist in Florida.
Yeah.
So that made it a lot easier.
Sure.
In person never really changed there. So when I started out, I was heavily in person. My first 9 months, I never did anything other than in person.
Yeah. Can you imagine starting in New York versus a Florida? Not politically, but insurance-wise, right?
Yeah. Starting in those more closed off states, it's harder if you don't have that system to follow for the virtual sales.
Yeah. So now you do, but you didn't at first. Maybe you did. You just maybe wanted to start in person. I think a lot of people maybe should start in person. I don't know. What's your thought?
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, I think it's best to start in person. It's the easiest way to learn how to build rapport because you're going to be able to go there and almost a burden is taken off a little.
Yeah.
Because it's easier. I'm sitting down to you kneecap to kneecap and I'm building that connection just naturally as you do as a person, as opposed to now we're on a computer screen and I got to find those ways of building that rapport that's unnatural. The last however old you are, 20, 30, 40 years of your life, you've built rapport in everything you did. School, teachers, classes, everything, friends. Yeah. You've always built rapport naturally. And so when you're able to just start in a natural environment, that can really propel that a little easier to then go make that transition into something like that. But I mean, starting in the middle of COVID, I got hired in July and I didn't get my license till September. It only took me 15 hours of study time and I did it all in 3 days, but I didn't do it till September because I was just working this other job. And I was like, you know what? I got to be serious. I got to be committed. Yeah. And I told my boss, listen.
What were you doing?
Server in a barbecue restaurant.
Ah, dude, at least it was a barbecue joint.
Yeah.
I
free barbecue every day.
Love barbecue.
Yeah. And so I was like, hey.
Could you get tired out of barbecue if you had it every day?
Honestly, no. You got to switch it up. We learned how to mix things together, kind of make some creations. Okay. And
you also, you got sausage, you got ribs, you got pork, you got brisket. We can
exactly
chicken, turkey, a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So that helped. I gave him my 2-week notice and he's like, you know what? We're slow. We're actually trying to find ways to eliminate shifts. Don't even show up for your whole week of work. He's like, just don't show up. It'll actually help me. See you later. And I was like,
what were you thinking in that moment? Like, oh crap, because you need the paycheck for 2 weeks or no?
Well, I had a little bit in savings. So I was like, well, it's not a huge deal, but I was like, it would have been nice to still go make a couple extra $100.
Yeah.
Going into this,
We don't normally accept 2 weeks by people either, by the way. That's just funny.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people don't. But also, you wouldn't have done this. A lot of people just, if that's the case, they're going to maybe
just don't show up for work.
Yeah, or barely show up or not be focused or whatever. Or it can affect the culture and morale with the rest of the group. Yeah. You wouldn't have done that, but just in general. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then do you think he helped you burn a bridge a little bit?
It did, yeah, because looking at and I did that, I would say I think in August. Because I got hired in July, but I wasn't doing anything. So then August, I was like, I gotta make that switch. Yeah. And then I got my insurance license pretty quick. I took a little break. I was also getting married in October of that same year. So I was doing a lot of wedding planning and figuring things out.
Barely employed, getting married.
Yeah. Dude, right? That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
No, it's not the way to do it.
You spend all the time with your significant other then,
there
right?
you go. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time to build the relationship.
That's right.
And so when I sat down and I finally did it, that was really the catalyst for me. But I worked there 5.5 years. I knew everyone all the way to the top of the company, the person who owned the company.
Is it a bigger joint?
All the way from Kentucky to South Florida.
Oh, so there's more than one location.
Yeah, it's a big franchise.
Wow.
And there's 3 in our city. Sonny's Barbecue.
Sundays Barbecue.
Sonny's.
Yeah. They don't have it in Missouri.
Yeah, I think it started
I wish you did.
in South Florida. Oh, yeah. They're good. I loved it. Great company. I had no issues with the company at all.
Awesome.
I loved it. And my goal when I got into this was I'm getting married, either work 60, 80 hours a week to make what I need to support my wife so she can finish her medical degree, or just find a job working 40 hours like I am now, but can make that money that can support 2 incomes, support 2 people. And so found this job ad and I was like, well, if it's really as good as they say,
what did the job ad say?
It was, if you love helping people, you love helping families, part-time, you can make $5,000, full-time, you can make $10,000 starting out. And I was like, all right. Most I've ever made in a year was like $18,000. And I was like, well, I make a year's salary.
Sign me up for part or full, whatever.
Yeah.
Or part of part.
Dude, I'll clean the toilets for extra money. Yeah. Whatever you need.
Yeah. I'll take the half part-time shift and I'll still make double.
Exactly. I'll make my month's income in a week. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's what I saw. I was like, hey, I love helping people. I love serving others. And this can combine. I can serve people much more effectively and have a larger influence on their family, on their life, on their legacy by being able to help them with something like insurance that can make sure that their family's taken care of, as it helped me in my situation, than just serving them a meal. As much as serving them a meal helps, there's such a larger influence you can have for a family's legacy, their generation, because you're able to sit there and care for them.
Yeah.
As I've seen it happen in my life.
Correct. Yeah. What's your story?
My story with insurance is...
Well, where'd you grow up?
Pensacola, Florida. Born and raised my whole life.
Always been there?
Always been there.
What did your parents do? Did you think you'd be in insurance today?
No. Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, so in kindergarten, I'm like, what do you want to be? I was like, insurance agent.
For sure.
100% the first thing I put down.
Like a lot of you too, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's like their dream career.
It's not being sarcastic. He just loved the idea.
No, but...
he saw this like 60-year-old white dude that was out of shape that always wore a white dress shirt and a tie and a suit every single day and went out and knocked doors. And it's just like, wow, that sounds incredible. I just want to be just like that person.
Yeah. Ironically, I love the door knocking side. I didn't do it in insurance.
I actually do too.
But when I was a kid for fundraisers, I was always the number one salesman in my school every single year.
Why?
I love talking to people.
Was it you were better with talking to them, or you just did more, or both?
I think both.
Yeah.
So what I do every day after school, I take my little magazine
It's
brochure.
also how you get good with people, by doing more too.
Exactly.
'Cause the skill
It's the learning
develops.
curve. We just had another agency owner in our company do a training, and one of the things he said that I loved was it's 4 laps on a track to do a mile.
Wow.
You can sprint, and get that done
True.
in 4 minutes. You can jog, go get it done in 20, or you can walk and take an hour to do it. And what's going to propel and change your business is how quickly you get that mile done, how quickly you do that activity. So if you want to take 3 months to put in, 20 hours a week and get over that learning curve, well, you're just kind of going at a walking pace. But if you want to come in here, be fully committed and give it your all when you're here, whether it's part-time or full-time, and you put in the work, you're going to see yourself come over that curve so much quicker.
Yeah.
Than walking. But my parents both were in the post office.
Okay.
So my mom was there for about 24, 25 years.
Wow.
Until she got cancer. And then my father still works at that post office. And that's where they
Steady
met.
job,
Yeah.
salary, benefits.
Yep. All of what she said, don't work in insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Come work at the post office, benefits.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
No.
I mean, my mother-in-law said that early on.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't have benefits and stuff. Why doesn't Cody get a real job? So it's
Yeah.
funny. Did you ever get that from family or parents?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone in my family, on every side, a lot of them were like, listen, do you really want people to hate you?
Oh.
Do you really want to be that guy?
What's funny is, hang on, the job ad is like, hey, do you like helping people? Do you care about people? And then it's like, the other side of the coin is, do you want people to hate you?
Yeah. It's like you want to be that guy making these cold calls and bothering people, selling them things they don't need so you can make money.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, yeah, well, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually help people. And then everyone's like, well, in order to even make money, you have to do unethical things. If you want to make an income and be able to support your family, you have to do the things that aren't right. And I was like, well, I don't like that about the industry.
Yeah.
Let's change that. Let's flip that on its head and make a great income doing the right thing. So I had a lot of that coming into the industry. But then again, being stubborn, I was like, well, hey, if it doesn't work, I can go back to serving.
True.
McDonald's will
That
take
place
me.
would take you back too.
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
heartbeat. That's the cool thing about like people that are good people. Like after I worked at Apple Market, the little grocery store in Rogersville, for a year.
We have an Apple Market.
Do you really?
Yeah.
No freaking way, dude. For a year. And I worked there, never called in one time, and showed up and worked, do whatever they said. And then after a year, I left, and I was going to be an intern.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, if you ever want to come back, we would take you back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you're one of the better employees we've ever had. I'm like, I'm getting chills just thinking about talking about it. I'm like, that's cool, right? And you probably had a similar experience.
Absolutely. I loved it.
That's why you shouldn't burn bridges either, because you never know what's. I mean, even relationships, because you never know what life is going to throw at you and what you're going to need to do later, or who you're going to go back to. You know, so many people burn bridges and just do stupid stuff when they like burn the building down on their way out, and then later they're like, they grow up and mature and realize, crap, I should have done that.
Yeah. The thing I love the most is I always tell people if you're forming good relationships, when you're telling someone, hey, I'm going to do what I think is best for me and my family, you're not going to burn a bridge. They're going to be excited for you and go, man, I hope you do well.
Yeah.
And if for some reason it doesn't, you're always welcome back. And that's when you know you've actually built a good relationship.
Yes.
No matter what it is.
Exactly. You sell a ton through Zoom now.
I do.
How's that transition been?
At first, it was hard. I didn't understand the value of setting solid appointments. I remember it was in March. So I guess this time last year, the first time I was really transitioning into Zoom, I was like, dude, let's do Zoom, not drive everywhere. And I booked 12 appointments week one. I was like, cool. Awesome.
You're like, okay, so we can book appointments via Zoom.
Yeah.
People will do it.
Absolutely. And then my show rate was really great. I ended up seeing 0%. So
0 for 12. This Zoom thing's definitely going to work.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, back to in person. Let's make an income.
Is that what you did?
I did. Exactly. I was like, all right, I got scared from it.
Did you go see the leads in person or door knock them, or you just ignored them?
I tried calling them back, trying to rebook them. And I might have done a handful, but definitely not all 12 without a doubt. And so,
that's crazy.
Went back to in person. And then we had a good company training on how do you set a quality appointment in order to make sure that a Zoom appointment shows. These are people that had an 70, 80% show rate, as well as a 70, 80% close rate. And so I said, all right, let's implement that. Like actually tying down the appointment well. My first week, I think it was like a 75% show rate after that. And so
0 to 75.
Yeah, 0 to 75. Not 0 to six figures, but 0 to 75.
Yeah.
And so
that's wild.
That's when I saw that booking a solid appointment, that's what leads to it. Then I was 100% Zoom from really then on.
Wow. What we're going to end up doing I'm going to end up doing a selling life insurance virtually event. I'm going to have Ashton actually do some training on it, by the way. That's coming up soon. Can't release the info yet because not even a page built for it. But you just spoke to a Rising Star training call recently and did a phenomenal job. And I loved what you shared. And I thought it was going to be a perfect fit for that event, by the way. We got a lot of positive feedback. What did you do differently to go from 0 to 75% show rate on the phones when you're booking a Zoom? I'm not saying you got to give it all away, et cetera, script, whatever, but.
Yeah, you got to make sure they come to the virtual conference.
That's
Can't give it all away.
That's true.
No, the biggest thing was connecting with the client. There's a way to do it on the phone. And I know we're going to dive in as deep as you want today and obviously a lot more later. But connecting with the client on the phone and making sure that you have either a script, a system, a process, some way to do it.
Yeah.
Because when you connect with them on the phone and you hit on key portions, that's going to make sure that they're actually at that appointment and they know why they're showing up and why this is needed. And that's the key.
I think that's the point you should train on. It's like appointment setting.
I love it. I love
people
dialing.
to stick. And you love dialing.
Dialing's my favorite, actually. I love dialing.
That's cool.
I remember the first set of leads I ever got, my upline, Griff, he got me, I think they were like 3-year plus old leads. He said, you're not going to book anything. I was like, cool. All right, well, I'll just talk to people. I like talking to people. Everyone says I talk too much. Sure, why not? All right, so, started down through these leads in my first session. I was like, I booked my first appointment. What do I do? He's like, just keep down. I was like, okay. I get down. I was like, I booked 7 appointments. I was like, what do I do? He's like, awesome. I'm still dialing. I was like, I got 7 appointments. He's like, have you done 3 hours yet? I was like, no. He's like, well, keep down. I was like, but the first one's tomorrow. He's like, we'll worry about it then. I'll keep down. I was like, okay. And I love just dialing through those leads. And even when you have those unfun phone calls.
Yeah.
My mindset every time was, how in the world can I make this person my friend? And the way I related that to ministry was it's like starting with a bad testimony.
Yeah.
Hey, you're the person that was always talked about, XYZ. Oh, there's Ashton. Here's, XYZ. And there's this negative testimony that you have to overcome. And that's what it is in insurance. When you call someone, like, this is the guy that if I tell him to leave, he's not going to. If I don't need this, he's going to sell me on it until he makes me believe that I do. And he's not going to care about anything I say, whether I can afford it. He's just going to get me to buy the most expensive thing. And I'm not going to be able to get him out of my house for 4 hours. And I knew that was the mindset of every person I called.
Yeah.
And I immediately approached that in the beginning. Like, hey, I'm here because I care about you, because I want to help you. If we don't have a need for this, I'll be the first one to tell you, and I'll be done in 10 minutes. If we sit down and talk and there's not a need, I'll be out the door. Your time is valuable. I don't want to waste it. And
we're hitting on a lot of those pain points. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh man, well, I can't really do this. So I don't have time. But hey, listen, I don't have time either. I got about 60 other families to call. I'm only going to really have about 15 or 20 minutes to even sit down and talk with you. Like, oh, so this isn't going to be 3 hours? You're not like going to be my the real.
This is what they're thinking, though. This is so
no,
good.
this verbally, this is what they said to me. Oh, so you're not going to come to my house and sit here for 3 hours? Like the last person, they wouldn't leave. We kept telling them to leave, and they were here for 4 hours. So you're not going to come and do that? It's like, absolutely not. I mean, I like you guys, but I got other things to do. You probably don't want to stare at my face all day. You want to do other things. Yeah. Like, oh, well, if it's only like an hour, I definitely got time. Okay, let's do it tomorrow then. And it went from book me out a month, which means I don't want to talk to you, to, oh, this is beneficial for my family and it's not going to take 3 hours. And so that was a lot of what kind of went through and kind of getting those first appointments booked and really learning how to overcome that on the phone.
That's smart. Instead of dodging it or avoiding it, you just attacked it.
Absolutely.
You were just honest.
They're thinking it. I'm thinking it. That's what you're worried about. That's what I'm worried about. I need to help other families.
Yes.
As much as I want to sit here and have a 6-hour appointment because I love talking, that's the ministry side.
Yeah.
I have other families that need help too. So let's just get the elephant out of the room.
Yeah.
Let's address it.
Correct. How did you overcome that? You mentioned that you've always been told you talk too much.
Yeah.
And sometimes the gift of gab isn't always a blessing, right?
Oh,
in
without
sales. How have you adapted and overcame some of that?
Yeah. You can definitely talk yourself out of the sale. You can give a client too much information.
For sure.
And that was one thing that my mentors kind of worked with me a good bit in the beginning of, hey, here's a short, simple script. Stick to it on the phone. 30-minute phone call doesn't mean that they're going to show up. As much as we'd like to think that. That means, oh, you know what? You're my best friend now. I always tell people they didn't fill this lead out because they wanted a professional phone buddy.
Yeah.
They weren't looking for a professional pen pal. They filled this lead out because they were looking for a professional insurance agent, not a professional pen pal. So I'm in here to give you what you want and give you just that, not a professional pen pal. So when I started down on the phone, like that was the first thing I had to realize. I was having 25, 30, 45-minute phone calls with one client. And realize, all right, I just need to get through the script and I can build that rapport in the home and go through that shorter process. And so really going, let me get what I need, build a connection, then have an appointment. That was what was kind of that key. And in the appointment, that same scenario, that I'm going to spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about you, your family, building that rapport, telling you a little bit about me. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not going to waste your time thinking I got to build 30 minutes of rapport.
Right. I'm
going to go right into what you're asking. All right. Hey, you guys are looking for that mortgage protection, that final expense. Let's go over that information. I even have a little PowerPoint that'll even kind of help us get through this for you, and we'll be able to also visually see what we're talking about. And that helped that transition a lot, just making sure to stick to the basics and give them what they need. Smart.
What does rising star mean to you?
Rising star. Oh man, that's a good question. Whew. Rising star. I think it means that you realize in yourself, I know I can do this. If I had that extra push, that extra coaching, that extra training, that extra mentorship, if I had that person that believed in me, if I had that person that could help push me, that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could make an influence and effect in this business, that I could really help change some lives, that I could do this, that I could support my family. Not only that, but I could help others. I could show others how to do the same thing.
That's right.
That's what a rising star is. You might be making good money. You might not be making any money. But you know that this might be your calling, that this is your passion, that you can help others and you can really make an influence in this world by helping a family.
Yeah.
And you got to have those tools in your pocket. And that's what this is all about, giving those agents those tools.
So good. Can't think of a better way to end that. They can find you on Facebook?
Absolutely.
Ashton DeLangoLunday. Spell your last name real quick.
Yeah. My mom made it up, so it's always fun. So it's DE capital LANGO capital LUNDAY.
Boom. DeLangoLunday. Dude.
Only one in the world. You can Google me. It's a fun
love
fact.
it. It's crazy.
High school
and when
stats
he
come
says
up,
Google
everything.
me, it actually works too,
It
which
does.
is cool, right? Which is cool. Dude, phenomenal job. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being on the Rising Star
Thank you
podcast.
for having me, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Okay. Thanks for listening to CA Rising Star podcast every Friday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the interview with Ashton DeLangoLunday. Go look this cat up. He's doing amazing things. And we will jump back to the book audio next week. See you next week. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there.
Cody, do you mind if I share a tip on how to write really big premium?
Definitely don't do that for sure. Right, guys? No? No, please. That'd be awesome.
So last week I wrote one app for 14,000.